Today, I want to talk about something that honestly breaks my heart and has been happening a lot lately, which is I've been getting a lot of new people to apply to work with me who've already put down deposits on a puppy, only for me to take a quick look at the breeder and realize that this might not be the right breeder to choose for service dog work. Before we dive in, though, I first want to say welcome back to the Collab Dog Training Podcast, where we believe the most successful service dog teams train through collaboration, not control. My name is Lisa. I'm a certified professional dog trainer and the host of this podcast. If you like this episode, I encourage you to rate and review this podcast. And if you know someone who is either self-training their service dog, training their dog for therapy work, or just simply like to go everywhere they can with their dog, be sure to share this episode. It is a really valuable tool for anyone that wants to take their dog out in a public space. Here's the thing. Service dog training is already hard enough. Even if a professional trainer is doing all of it for the professional trainer, it's still challenging. Add in someone who doesn't have any experience with training, and it's going to be even harder. Starting with the wrong dog from the wrong breeder can be devastating because you're kind of setting yourself up to fail. So I wanted to create this episode to talk about why choosing the right dog or puppy is so important, what to look for, what to avoid, and the red flags that should send you running. But I also do want to mention that self-training itself may not be right for everyone as well. For some people, if you don't have the capacity to train consistently for a year or two, you may be better off waiting on a wait list for a already trained service dog or purchasing a trained service dog. But assuming that you do have the capacity, not just mental energy, but also time, right? So assuming that you have that, here's what you can look for when it comes to a breeder. So step one is to find the right dog for you and your specific lifestyle. And so this is even before selecting a breeder, right? You want to select a breed and a dog that's going to be right for you. Exercise needs matter, and you want to make sure that your lifestyle matches up with the type of dog that you're looking for. If you're someone, for example, with limited mobility or chronic fatigue, a high drive working line dog is going to be exhausting and probably cause you more stress. On the flip side, if you have the time, energy, and space to enrich a higher drive dog, that could work for you, but you need to know what you're getting into before you commit. So it's always so important. I tell people, you want to focus on characteristics of a breed that are going to work for you and your lifestyle, not one that you want just because it looks pretty. A good breeder will also be honest with you on what type of temperament and energy levels their dogs have, and that alignment is one of the first keys to success. I should mention, though, that there is a reason why labs and poodles are the most common types of breeds for service dog work. Generally, they have the right temperament, intelligence, and adaptability needed to thrive in public. But not all labs are going to be the same, as well as not all poodles are going to be the same. Some labs and some poodles are going to be bred from hunting or sport lines, which means they're going to have way more drive and need a lot more enrichment, which isn't necessarily bad, but you just need to ask yourself if you realistically have the energy to meet those needs. Remember, a bored, understimulated dog isn't just annoying, but it's going to be almost impossible to train because their needs are not being met. Other breeds obviously can work, and there are tons of examples of people who have trained rescue dogs, German shepherds, every type of breed, right? But it's important to know that if this is your first time self-training a service dog, sticking with one of those tried and true breeds is going to help set you up for success. Once again, it's not about limiting you. It's about stacking the odds in your favor, because training a service dog is already a marathon. And yes, each dog is going to be an individual, so there's still a chance that they might not be the right fit. But you want to increase your chances of having a dog with the right temperament. You don't want to make it harder on yourself by starting with a breed that's known to be more challenging. Okay, so that's all about selecting the right type of breed. The other thing to consider is that it also depends on what kind of tasks you're looking for your service dog to do. If you're looking for balance and mobility support, I wouldn't do a small dog, right? You can't safely use a smaller dog for balance and mobility. On the flip side, if you can't, if a big dog has the ability to injure you, I wouldn't go with a puppy who's going to end up being a big dog, because there's going to come a point where you're going to have to train that dog and they're going to be an adolescent, and you're going to have to be able to handle when they yank and pull you, because there is a gap in training at some point, right? Where they're bigger, but maybe they haven't fully learned to not pull yet. And usually when they're an adolescent, even if they have learned to, stay in that proper heel, as they become an adolescent, they become a little bit more mischievous. And so you want to consider, am I able to stay safe with this dog? And of course, it's also a lot different if you're getting like an already trained bigger dog, right? I should also mention that if you do have a helper, that's always an option as well, even if maybe you're not able to hold a rambunctious 9-month-old lab on your own. When it comes to breeders, we also want to look at a lot of things like what health testing have they done on the parents? How do you socialize your puppies? How do they match puppies to families? What's the policy if the dog doesn't work out? And I really recommend Atlas Assistance Dogs has a full list of questions to ask your breeders, and this is an amazing resource. Just go to atlasdog.org/resources and print it out and keep it handy when you are researching breeders. Now, a little word on health testing. So don't just take the breeder's word for it when they say the parents are healthy. We want to actually look for real testing and actually read the results, because some breeders I found, they post their health test, and that's not a lie because they actually did health test, but the health test will show that the dog has like a heart issue or whatever, right? So they're banking on the fact that people aren't reading. We don't want to do that. The last thing you want to do is put years into training only to be stopped by preventable health issues. Some other breeder red flags to look out for are they won't let you see where the puppies are raised. They don't do any type of early neurological stimulation or puppy culture. They always have litters immediately available. You don't have to wait at all, which kind of gives a little bit of a puppy mill vibe or backyard breeder vibe. What you do want is a breeder that will take back a puppy if they're not the correct temperament. Another way you can kind of research breeders is in Facebook groups where people share honest opinions and experiences with breeders. There's one I really like called Uncensored Breeders. There's other groups as well on Facebook, looking at Reddit, but I would tend to look more there versus, Google reviews or Yelp reviews, because some people can be intimidated to leave a negative review, but might be more kind of candid and open in those Facebook groups. So here's the bottom line. Finding the right breeder is just as important, if not more important, than the training itself, because you can't train temperament. If a dog is predisposed to resource guarding, anxiety, reactivity, things like that, like you can't train that necessarily. Like we can manage it, but that underlying behavior is going to still be there. That possibility is always there, and it's just too big of a risk to have a dog who's potentially going to be dangerous out in public. Not just a risk to you financially if they, are really anxious and ruin something in the store, but also a risk to your dog if they end up biting someone. You don't want to get into a lawsuit, and the last thing you want to deal with is the stress of having some sort of legal dispute with someone. Okay, so just to recap, make sure you ask all of those questions, do your homework, read the tests, and actually research beyond just looking at their reviews. Look at Facebook groups or Reddit forums where they talk about specific breeders in your area, or even like breed specific groups. You can use the search bar in the Facebook group to look specifically in that group for specific breeders. Now, if you're ever not sure or you need help I would love for you to send me a DM on Instagram, and I'd be happy to review a breeder or at least point you in the right direction. I obviously can't guarantee the breeder is going to be perfect, but I'm happy to kind of quickly look through and try to spot any red flags. So feel free to DM me. I'll link my Instagram in the show notes. Anyway, I just wanted to make this quick episode because self-training a service dog is hard enough, and I want to make sure you're starting with the best foundation possible. All right, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Collab Dog Training Podcast. If this episode helped you, I'd love it if you subscribed, left a review, or shared it with a fellow dog parent who could use a little bit more calm in their life. And don't forget, you can find more courses and free resources at collabdogtraining.com.